Welcome back, everybody, to more from the Sable Eyes. I'm here today with Jordan. How's it going, Jordan?
Not too bad.
That's good, and we're going to be running through the list that won Sydney Regionals over the last weekend, and to help us do that, we have the winner of Sydney Regionals, Aaron Kolk. How's it going, Aaron?
Good. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, going good. First of all, congratulations on winning.
Thank you, man.
That's okay, and yeah, let's have a look at the list. You obviously played Zapdos over the weekend, and the list's up on the screen for us now, so 90% of our viewer base has already left. They've just sniped the list and gone. But playing Zapdos Jirachi, obviously playing the standard 3-4 line of Jirachi, nothing 3-4 line of Zapdos and Jirachi, nothing too interesting there. But the rest of the deck has a little bit more going on, so we'll talk about that. First of all, you're playing the Beasts variant, so let's talk first of all about Buzzwole. Why is Buzzwole useful, Aaron? Tell me why.
Sledgehammer's one of the most broken attacks in the game.
It certainly is. It's really,
best
really
typing,
good.
best damage number, it'll do.
Yeah, and coming up against lots of Zoroark, because the field in Sydney was quite heavy Zapdos, Reshizard, Zoroark, so Buzzwole seems like it would have been a pretty good card to have in that matchup.
Yeah, it helped a lot against the two Zoroarks I played. I managed to rip a Beast off 4 cards to give me a really good position in the finals. Just really strong card. If you can get the Beast on it, Zoroark now struggles to kill it, cutting D-Valley. So it's a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. And also with your Ultra Beast package, we've got 2 grass Pokemon here. One is the Baby Kartana with Big Cut. For those who don't know what it does, when you have 4 prize cards remaining, the attack does a 130 damage instead of just 10. That seems like a pretty relevant number.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. So a Band kills a Dedenne straight on the 4 prize turn. Band Shrine kills a Lele. There's just a lot of really good numbers. It can hit 2 ticks and it kills anything with 180. It can kill 190 with 3 ticks, what's kind of nice. You can get nice plays where it comes back into your turn, you take prizes. So you can try and set up more plays with it. It's also got free retreat, what's huge. And I nearly got to use the second attack.
Yeah, I would say that the Katana is probably the least common out of all these Ultra Beast decks that people tend to play in this deck, especially since it does kind of serve a similar purpose to the Buzzwole, since they're usually useful around about the same turn, really. So I want to ask Aaron, what do you think is the main reason you decided to keep the Katana on the list?
The number was really nice. The free retreat was huge because you can escape board it against an Absol to give it free retreat, so you don't have to pay an energy on Jirachi each turn or hit a switch card. The second attack could have come up. I had a couple of scenarios where it was going to, like I could flip and try and kill a Reshizard, but I missed the Coco Prism and just stuff like that.
That's actually really interesting. False swipes, like, I know it's on a coin flip, but that could potentially come up, and especially with these big GX tag teams that just, like, yeah, if you can knock him out in a turn with a non-GX, that seems like a really, really big deal.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I versed a Blastoise GX, and I imagine Kartana would be pretty good against any of the Grass Weak Pokemon running around as well.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And also with your Ultra Beast package, you're playing one of the new big tag teams of themselves, Pheromosa and Buzzwole. And spoiler alert, it ended up winning you the tournament, Aaron.
Yeah, it was a pretty huge card all weekend. I led it against Leon's round 1. What kind of sucked, it was game 3. I still managed to win that. He prized Gossamer and couldn't get to the other one. But overall, it's a pretty cool card. I wanted to use Jet Punch a bit more, but just never found the need to. It was always too costly. I would consider cutting it, but overall, it's a pretty decent card in the deck. It also gave me a tanky option against Zoro.
Yeah, and obviously it's a very good card in the mirror match. That's probably the main benefit to playing it, but did you find yourself ever going for some of the other attacks, like the second attack? I think is not a bad option when you can charge 1 the energy onto it with Tapu Koko.
I used Elegant Soul.
Elegant Soul, yep.
Yeah, Elegant Soul, yep. I used that once, and that was to win a game against Jordan, or to put me in a winning position against Jordan, but that was the only time I got to use it all weekend. Beast game was huge, though. I used it on a Reshizard for 4 prizes to steal a game.
Ooh,
it was massive.
Nice. And yeah, so that's actually quite interesting. I mean, we'll talk about matchups in a minute, but Jordan, you lost to Aaron, man. What's going on?
I did. I dropped the ball on this one, but he played pretty well, so I'll give him the pass.
Hey, you can't complain. You can't complain when he's going on to win the tournament. The rest of the Pokemon lineup, we've got one more Ultra Beast, and that's Nihilego with Nightcap, which you can use when your opponent has 2 prize cards remaining to utilize your opponent's Pokemon's attacks. Imagine this is another good one up against Reshizard as well.
Yeah, it won me so many matches. Against Pikarom, I was in a position where I could steal with Nihilego with a Band and a Shrine to copy Tag Bolt to one-shot it. I didn't have to resort to that play. I ended up hitting the Koko play, but it was another option there. Used it to kill Reshizards quite a bit. I could have copied Vengeance from a Persian at one point. I don't remember who that was, Henry or Jordan, who was against.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't you? I think I had it like a play down where I could have copied. I don't know if it was Vengeance. It was something where I could have copied what could have got me close to a KO after a couple of Shrine ticks. But yeah, no, it's one of the most important cards in the deck. It's super strong. Comes up in every matchup, really.
Yeah, it's just in general a good way to finish off a game. If you're not able to pull off Endgame GX, then Nihilego is pretty good at having a secondary option to close out a game, which Zapdos can struggle to do sometimes. I have another question for you real quick, Aaron.
Yes.
Since we've kind of covered most of the Ultra Beasts, the rest of the Pokemon line is for the most part pretty standard, but did you ever feel like the 1-1 Zebstrika was enough, or did you ever find that it got prized or knocked out and it just didn't seem like enough? Would you consider going up to a high count at that line?
I would really like a 2-2, but the fact of just the room in general, with the amount of beasts I play, it's really hard to fit stuff. You got to try and keep all your switching outs. You want to try and keep all your supporters. You want to have a lot of ball search to be able to search your one-offs. So I just never found it too necessary. I prized it a little bit. I prized it in 2 of my games in the finals, but I was able to unprize it early in one of the games, which was really good. It's a very clutch card against Zoro, though, and if I knew it was going to be as big as what it was, I probably would have played 2-2.
Yeah, and obviously, for the most part, you're not always going to need it. Jirachi's ability is pretty good at getting you what you need, but when you're diversing decks like Zoroark, which play Muck, then Zebstrika becomes a little bit more important.
Yeah, so we've got that 1-1 Zebstrika line here. And we've got a couple of other Pokemon as well. These ones are pretty common across Zapdos Jirachi lists these days. Tapu Koko Prism seems pretty good with Dance of the Ancients, and similarly, Tapu Koko GX is another really, really good option to knock out Reshizards in with that GX attack. Since they attach so many energy, really, really useful. I imagine that you took a couple of knockouts with this card as well, Aaron.
Yeah, killing Pikaroms with it is always a good thing when they get the turn, whatever you want to call it, the turn 2 full blitz, or their turn 1 full blitz, and set up, then you just kill the Pikazek on the field. It's really huge. I used against Henry in the final to win game 2, I believe it was. I hit that to kill a Zoroark because he had a DC trapped on his Red Knuckles Marshadow when he killed my Buzzwole.
Yep.
So I had 4-inch on play, so with Shrine I got it.
Comes up quite a lot. Let's run through the rest of the list because I want to talk a bit more about matchups in a bit. The rest of the list seems reasonably standard. We've got 4 copies of Electro Power. We've got 4 copies of Nest Ball. Only 3 Ultra Ball, but that's a reasonably standard decision across Zapdos, wouldn't you say, Jordan?
Yeah, for the most part. In fact, some builds even only play 2 Ultra Ball. It really just depends on what the Pokemon line is. But I think, did you have any trouble with like searching out the right Pokemon you need at the right time?
I had trouble with finding the discards what I wanted of judging, do I need this for late game? Like when you're holding, say, a Guzma, and you're like, oh, I don't need it this turn, can I afford to throw it yet? Or Ultra Balling, knowing that you may want to grab the Zebstrika and may need to sprint. So do you throw away the resources you're going to need in a couple of turns' time? That was a bit harder. Like, you got to play it, though, to search out the 1-1 Zebstrika line.
Yep.
Also search Tapu Koko, so it doesn't go straight to bench, and Let Loose.
Yeah. Big calls. I forgot to mention Let Loose. You played one of Let Loose. I imagine that was pretty cool in the tournament. Lots of decks in this particular format seem to really struggle with getting Let Loose after a knockout. So I imagine you did that a few times as well.
Yeah, if I got a bad matchup, I just Let Loose him and just kind of drew like a god. I drew poorly because that's what Let Loose does when you lead Jirachi.
Yep, just hope for the best, and usually when you've got Jirachi on the field, you should be fine. The rest of the lineup, we've got multiple switching options. We've got 3 switch, 2 escape rope, and 2 escape board for attaching to your Pokemon. Obviously, since Zapdos' attack does damage based on the amount of times you've switched, like if you've switched or not, you need to make sure you're doing that. We also play 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher, Lots of one-offs, Aaron. Did you ever find yourself in a position where maybe you discarded something really early on that you needed to get back and you couldn't because of your rescue stretches, or any interesting situations because of those one-off counts?
One of the biggest problems I found was actually having to discard stretcher early or having to sprint it too early, and not having it there to search it. Because sometimes later in games, once you played your Nest Balls and Ultra Balls early to help you get set up, stretcher is actually your easiest way of finding cards. Because you may have had to sprint away the Buzzwole, sprint away the Katana, when you don't want to drop it so they can't chip it early. Like, I know some Zoroark players, when I played, tried to hit the Buzzwole for 120 before Sledgehammer turn, so I couldn't just attach a Rainbow to it, forced me to hit the Beast Energy, which was quite a big play.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And when you're running out of rescue stretcher, it can be really difficult to deal with that. But for sure, those one-off counts, there's just lots of them. Like, I thought I was playing a lot of one-offs on the weekend, but hey, I wasn't playing. Well, I mean, I probably was playing as many as you, but that's beside the point. Moving on, we've got 2 copies of Choice Band, and then our kind of generic supporter line for Lily, 4 Guzma, and 2 Cynthia, as well as 3 Shrine of Punishment, which is probably one of the best ways of getting damage onto the field in this GX heavy format. That Shrine of Punishment, I imagine, probably came up quite a lot. Jordan, you want to ask a question?
Hey, I was just going to ask something about the support line, because I know in previous times when I played against Darren when he was running Zapdos, he was a big advocate for the Quad Volkman build. How did you find playing Zapdos this time with no Volk? Did you ever wish you had it?
It's a completely different build. I still stand by in the Jolteon build, you should be playing 3 to 4 Volkner. It's one of the best cards that allows you to grab Switch Energy, Rescue Stretcher Energy, just anything you really need. Because you're never really digging for too much with Zapdos. You always just need a bare sort of minimum to attack. That's what makes deck so good. It's so cheap, runs so efficiently. This support line was nice. I would have liked to Judge. Judge would have been pretty huge because that's a searchable let loose in a way. I don't really know if you could call it that, but I would have really liked one. But I don't think I could drop a Cynthia for a Judge. I think that'd be too greedy with the deck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a bit of a risky play. And then down the energy, we've got 4 Lightning, 4 Rainbow, and 1 Beast, which that Beast Energy ends up winning the tournament. Seems like a reasonable lineup of energy. A pretty good list, Aaron. You'd be reasonably happy with it, I imagine?
Yeah, there were a couple of cards I would have wanted. Third board would have been very nice because people were playing higher blow counts, or in Zoroark at least, knowing that Power Plant was being played a fair bit in Naganadel, Quagsire, and in, I think, some Reshizard lists played it. I didn't really like it in Reshizard, but I don't know. I think it was a wasted spot in that sort of deck. I would have also liked another band for the Katana math for Buzzwole stealing on Lycanrocs if I end up playing some Zoro Lycan was in the field. Also on Nihilego, it's huge on the swing turn where you try and knock out a Reshizard with Flare Strike, Flare Destroy, whatever it's called.
Whatever it's called, yep. No, beautiful. Well, that's the list. We've got a bit more time. I want to have a chat with you about your matchups because, you've sent me through a list of them, and I'm looking down the list now, and there's a couple of interesting ones. There's a couple of matchups that you'd expect that you'd lose that you won, and also a couple where maybe you'd expect to win and you lost. So let's talk about it. Starting off the day, you play up against Blounds first up, and you said that you started the Pheromosa Buzzwole. How did you feel in that particular matchup with Blacephalon, not necessarily one of the decks that people are expecting in a tournament like Sydney Regionals?
So I was quite confident going in against Blounds, as I thought Katana could put in a lot of work with Shrine Ticks. Being able to kill a Naganadel, what the deck normally would struggle to do. Being able to straight one-shot a Blound if they've taken a Shrine Tick, well, it's huge. Being able to let loose them and having them semi-weak to it. I know they play High Ball Search and Lele and Dene, that sort of stuff. But I also didn't feel my opponent's list was quite optimal. I think they could have made it a bit more consistent and maybe changed some counts around.
Yeah, fair enough. And then going into round 2, after you've beaten Blacephalon, you play Reshizard. And you'd probably say that matchup would be a reasonably good one, but you didn't quite get there. What happened in that matchup?
Honestly, the matchup's pretty free. I used 3 Stellar Wishes in a turn to try and hit a Guzma in about a 15 to 20 card deck. I had 2 left, just missed. It's just unfortunate. Stuff like that happens. Then game 3, I just bricked.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was my only real brick of the tournament. I don't know if you could really call it a brick. He didn't have game, and I let loose him. not knowing that he didn't have game when he had like a 10-card hand, and he drew game.
Oh jeez, that sucks.
He drew Fiery. He needed to draw 3 energy plus Welder, and he drew Fiery Flint Welder.
Yuck. Oh well,
Yep.
But hey, can't complain. The only loss of the tournament being in round 2.
Also lost against Weezing.
Oh yes, you do. You did too. Sorry about that. I'm giving you more credit than you deserve. Round 3, Pigazek, another one where seems to be a pretty good matchup. This deck plays really well against tag teams.
So game 1 against that, I believe I led either was Coco or Buzzmoser, and they played Let Loose, and I bricked, and it was a bad time, and I was really scared. Game 2, they just started a bit slower than me, and I got the Coco play off, then I got the Sledgehammer turn off. It was absolutely huge because they weren't able to skip it. Then game 3, they maxed out their bench and weirdly ultra balled and kept it a dead A in hand, so I just used Shrine Tech to my advantage, just took all my prizes in one turn while they had a dead hand.
Wow.
That seems pretty good to me. I'd be happy to do that. Jordan, I'll let you talk through round 4, mate.
Yep, what was round 4? Oh, that was me, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah, it was you. Sent you to 2-2.
Alright, so yeah, you versed me, and there was a couple interesting games there where I believe, did you win the first game? I can't remember which one I won.
You won the coin toss, and then I won the first game, you won the
That's right.
second, I won the third.
Yeah, because I remember in one of the games I got a muck out and used Judge, which is usually a pretty good strategy for winning this matchup.
Seems like a winning
That was
play
game
against
3.
Zapdos.
That was game 3, and yeah, I think you ended up killing my muck that turn.
Yep, drew Guzma, Electropower Energy with a Zapdos on bench to draw it naturally, didn't even need a top deck.
Oh my
Seems
goodness.
pretty good.
That's amazing. Oh, the only thing that could get better than that is like maybe, I don't know, needing like a 3-card combo with no cards in hand and drawing some prizes that you might need to win the. I don't know if that happened at all. This is just all a hypothetical situation.
In game 3, I had 4 prizes left, and I set up a Shrine Tick on a Dedenne to kill it coming into my turn. Jordan couldn't get Acerola, as Acerola and Power Pad were in bin, I was pretty sure of.
Yeah.
Can't remember if that was 100% true, might have played 2 or something. But yeah, I set it up. I took Guzma Band off my prizes, top deck to Shrine. The Muck was already dead because I sacked earlier in the game. Jirachi into my last Electro Power to kill a Zoroark with a Zapdos with a Choice Band, and an Electro Power already had 70 damage on it to steal the game. I would have had 2 turns to get it though, I believe.
Obviously, that was pretty fortunate for you. But in general, in the matchup, how confident do you feel you are if both decks draw decently well, neither player sacks, but neither player god draws? How often do you reckon you can win from a situation like that?
I feel like knowing that Zoroark was going to be big, I would have changed my list a bit. I probably would have played. This sounds weird, but I probably would have played a Buzz GX now because I think they really struggled to deal with that. Went away from the Rainbow build and played more of what another player who made top 8 Christian did with basic energy, and play like maybe 1 or 2 to 3 fighting energy, so I can B-string to it and try and sweep a Zoroark deck now. I was thinking about that if I think Zoroark's going to pick up, but it didn't see any results in America, I don't believe. So
and hey, you did pretty well against Zoroark anyway.
Well, yeah, the two games you played against that you managed to win, so I wouldn't complain. And it's one of those matchups, like I played the same, 57 cards to Henry's list, and every time that I went up against Zapdos, I was like, yeah, no, I can definitely win this. This seems like a pretty good matchup. So to beat it twice and in the fashion you did must be pretty stoked with that one, Aaron.
Both players I beat were top tier as well, so it's not like they played poorly. I think it was just good draws
bad
by me.
luck and
I did throw a game against Henry, I think, and I think I threw one against Jordan, if I remember correctly, just off the miscalcing because I didn't play any games with my deck before I played it at the regional. I was set on walls and then panic switched.
Yep.
The
irony is, of course, that if you had chosen walls, then the matchups against Zoroark would have been absolutely free, because I don't think any of the Zoroark lists that played in Sydney had any way of dealing with it.
No, I do not believe they did.
No.
They were all the fully special build. They had no basics, I don't believe.
So yeah, but then you've got the next 4 rounds. 3 of them were against Reshizard, so we might just talk about those 3 all at the same time. So it's round 5, 6, and 8. Anything particularly interesting in this one that set it apart from the one where you just missed Guzma in round 2?
I didn't draw bad. so I won.
Yeah, fair
Makes
enough.
sense.
That's pretty much how it went. Hit the Heligo turn and won. Two-shot Reshizard. Drew into E-powers when I needed them. Just that sort of stuff. Just
Yep, just don't draw poorly and you end up winning.
Yeah, pretty much. That was just the game plan. Sledgehammer turn plus Car onto Volks is huge. That's like a massive play in the matchup.
In any of the games you played, did any of your opponents play the Miltank, and were they able to use it? Because I remember hearing that Miltank was one of the cards that people were using to try and swing the Zapdos matchup potentially.
Nick Apostolou in my second round played it. I don't believe any of my other opponents did. I think they went for the green search build more commonly.
Yep.
I think one of them was the Let Loose build though, like the Let Loose Jirachi build. What's honestly pretty, like, it's close to an auto win for me because it just gives me free prizes and whenever they have to drop one.
Yeah,
it's not like I have to burn E-powers. It's just cool, I'll take that.
You can just sit there and snipe them out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other matchup in our Swiss rounds was round 7 against Wheezing. That's a matchup that we didn't actually, like, on the Stabilized test a lot of. Wheezing just wasn't on our radar. How did that one go?
So Wheezing was a sleeper pick, what I was thinking about going into the tournament. I was talking to people who I test with and people who I was staying with the night before saying, I think this thing could be the play going into it, with Zapdos, Reshizard, and Pikazek all being very hyped up and having quite positive matchups to them, but having a weaker Zoro matchup. I didn't get to see much of the deck. I pretty much scooped within 3 turns because they got 3 Wheezings out, and that's just game. I can't kill them.
Obviously,
and they had spell tags and all that stuff.
Yeah, Wheezing, when it doesn't dead draw, is probably pretty much Zapdos' worst matchup. I'd say it's almost an auto win for Wheezing. But do you think there's anything you could do either with this list or anything you could change to the list to give yourself a chance in that matchup?
So a lot of people have been saying Mew swings it, but as soon as you kill a Wheezing, they just spell tag to the Mew and you just that dies, and it's like, oh cool, I tried, but I still lost.
Yeah.
So like, some people were saying there's ways to outplay it. I'm not too sure on that. I think it's just a L.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty tough matchup to try and come back in.
Yeah, and luckily in the end it didn't make a difference because you ended up 7th seed at the end of day 1, which is quite good. And you had a reasonably favourable bracket because the top 8 was it was myself and Henry both playing a Zoroark mirror. Then there was 2 Zapdos mirrors, and you were playing Christian, I believe, weren't you?
Yes.
Yep. And then the other game was a Reshizard versus Pikarom, and you were on the side of the Reshizard and Pikarom, so it was kind of like if you could win the mirror, then you seem to have a reasonably free road through to the final.
Yeah, the mirror match was quite cool as well because I had Buzzmoser and he had Absol. I didn't end up playing Absol, I didn't expect much Jirachi. And I had Buzzmoser, so I thought I'd swing it, and then I remembered, Absol's really good. So
yep.
I thought it was going to be, if he didn't have the Absol, I thought it was going to be like 65% in my favour. But it meant I needed to hit a switch each turn or kill the Absol, which was really annoying. Game 1, I got the turn 1 kill on an Absol, what was huge. But he had Stretcher in hand, and that went good.
Back down.
Yeah, that went good. And then he got the turn 2 kill on my Blitzel. Yep, Blitzel, so it's good. Yep.
Jeez.
The little horse, and I didn't have Stretcher, so I lost that one. And then game 2, I started. He didn't get the turn 1 kill. I had to set up plus the first kill, so that was a good time, and just managed to just keep hitting each turn. Then game 3, he led alone to Heligo and bricked, and I just won turn 1.
Yep, and you just go through and take a knockout. And no
so
worries.
Wish into an E-Power, switch, MG is up first game.
Sounds good. And then you go up against Dave Patane, Reshizard, in round 4. And I expect at this point you were starting to feel like pretty confident that you could make it through to the final. Obviously, his list was a little bit different, though. We'll feature it on the channel a little later in the week. But how did you go up in that matchup?
Once again, Reshizard's pretty free if I draw optimally. He drew bricks. He just drew terribly. It was a bad time for him in game 2, I think that was. He just couldn't get anything really going sustainably. He had a 3-energy Volk and a single energy Volk, I think it was, and I hit the Guzzmet E-Power onto the Volk with 3, what just put him in such bad position he couldn't follow up with a Welder. So he wasn't trading KOs properly. It's just pretty unfortunate stuff. He let me have Sledgehammer turn, I believe. I think he only hit me on Buzzball for 50 on Sledgehammer turn. I think that was against him. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I had a a lot of fresh Zard matches.
Yeah,
They
you
all kind of
played 5 of them over the tournament, so
Yeah,
they blend in together.
they kind of just became one massive fresh Zard match.
Yeah, if you're able to get off multiple 4-prize sledgehammer turns, I'd be feeling pretty confident in almost any matchup.
Game 1, he burnt 2 Kukui turn 2 after Lieutenant Surging. He burnt 2 Kukui, so I was like, oh cool, both of them are gone. I'm getting multiple sledgehammers off here.
Yep.
It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, so that seems like a decent one. And then you head up against Henry Brand in the final, and we'll feature his list as well. And I think you lost game 1 to Henry. How were you feeling at that point? Obviously, an unfavourable matchup in the final, and losing game 1, that'd be a pretty stressful situation.
Game 1 was very winnable. Got really greedy and tried to seal it up early and got punished for it. So I thought, no, I just need to play it more safer. I miscalced at one point on a dugong. I added in a shrine tick because I'm an idiot, and
It's alright.
yeah, played one e-power and wasted my last e-power on half hitting a dugong.
No
That was a
worries.
good time.
In your match
And let
against Henry Aaron, did you go for a similar strategy to what you used to make against me, where you tried to focus down the muck, or were you kind of just trying to just take your GX prizes as quickly as possible?
He prized Muck game 2. Oh, he prized Ditto Grimer, I think it was game 2, or he might have just prized Grimer. So he didn't actually go for the Muck because I could deny it so easily.
Right.
But that was gonna be my plan. Just my first plan was to try and brick him, as Zora's semi-clunky now to a let loose, and you can kind of just, like, if they get the turn 1 play off and have to burn so many Ultra Balls to get a good start, you can sort of just let loose them and hope they brick out of Zoros, which ended up happening in game 3. He bricked Zoros. I don't think I let loose him though. He just burnt too much and then just drew a dead hand.
Yeah, so let's talk about game 3, because obviously sitting watching the tournament, like, it was a hard-fought game 2, and I could see Henry going, oh, well, I lost that one because, you know, I had the Grimer and the Ditto prized, which sucked. And then you flip over the Pheromosa Buzzwole, and everyone in the crowd kind of went, oh no, like, Aaron's surely going to lose from here. He's not only opened his only, like, this second worst, probably, Pokemon in that Tapu Koko GX is probably worse. He's opened Pheromosa Buzzwole, which is going to give up 3 prizes, and it only takes Henry 2 turns to knock it out. When you saw that you had to start it, what was your thought process?
I had the Beast in hand. What was the last card I drew? So one of the first cards I drew was the Buzzball Pheromosa, and then on, I think it was the 6th or the 7th card, I drew the Beast. That was a really good time. I was like, oh cool, I can punish the Zoro
So
at least turn 1.
This isn't that bad then.
Yeah, but instead he led Red Knuckles, what was really, really good, honestly, because that means he has to stretcher it back to A, remove shrines, B, use Buzzwole turn, meaning he can't stretch a Grimer, or he can't stretch a Grimer twice.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to kill the Red Knuckles. I chose to kill it over the Ditto for that reason. Also because with a band, it could just hit my Buzzwole for 110, and that's really annoying. That's a really bad time. Then I was able to set up so I took 2 prizes with Beast Game, Endgame, whatever it's called.
Yep.
I took 2 prizes with that on the Marshadow turn 1. Next turn, I hammer-headed was it the Ditto what I hammer-headed? And then
I think you killed a Zoroark. I can't remember.
I took the 2 Zoroarks in 1 turn. I might have just hit. No, I hit into a Dugong, sorry, because it didn't have grass weakness, it has metal weakness.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah,
it was a really funny interaction. So he's just Aaron, like, watching from a side. I see Aaron, like, looking at the card. He goes Dugong, and then he looks at the judge and goes, "This has metal weakness. Is this a misprint?"
Yeah, like
The steel has grass weakness, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I was pretty, like, upset about that, and so I just sniped into a Zoroark and hit 60, and then I kind of just topped to Guzma to kill both Zoroark, not have to go through the Dugong. Then he had a 60 NG 60 damage Lele because of Shrine ticks, and I was holding E-Power Switch Zapdos.
And I was actually
I think I dug into the E-Power.
I was actually standing on the other side of the match watching Henry's hand. I saw that he was able to find a Dedenne GX as his only out to draw right at the beginning of the game, and he drew a hand of 6 cards, being 3 double colorless, 2 Zoroark, and 1 Espeon, when all he needed was a Zoroark GX. So a little unlucky for Henry there, but obviously you put on enough pressure that you never really gave him a chance to come back into the game, and you won very quickly, I believe, in game 3.
It was like 4 turns. It would have been 4 turns. Just because of Buzzwole. It's just so quick. It can punish him even quicker than Zapdos normally can, with the sniping and the 2 prize play.
Now, obviously, it could have gone much worse. Like, I mean, if you start Pheromosa Buzzwole and you don't get the Beast Ring, then it's a completely different matchup. But the pressure that you're putting on, the fact that even missing one turn for Henry puts him so far behind, it seems like a pretty reasonable way to win a matchup. So that's a nice tournament, Aaron. That seems like a pretty solid weekend.
I was pretty happy with how it went. Drew godly the whole weekend, just couldn't miss. It was great. Missed against Nick was the unfortunate hit Wheezing, were my only 2 losses, but apart from that, really can't complain. Managed to brick 2 Zoroarks to get there, which was really nice. That's really my only win con.
Yeah, 100%.
Is drawing like a god and bricking him. Yeah, so I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a couple of 100 points and a bit of money as well. So certainly a good weekend. Thanks for sharing your list with us and with everyone else.
All good, guys.
And thanks for coming along. Thanks, Jordan, for being with us for this short little video on Zapdos Jirachi.
Anytime.
And we'll be back tomorrow with Henry Brand's list, who will see his perspective on the matchup and how confident he was going in. And yeah, we'll see you then. If you enjoyed the content, please click the little Sableye in the middle of the screen now to subscribe. On the left-hand side, you'll see a video that YouTube recommends for you. And on the right, we've got our Unbroken Bonds playlist so that you can go back and have a look at some more decks from this format. Thanks everyone for coming along, and we'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.